that and what does that mean? And what are the timelines that we're working with? Well, Illinois is one of 45 states and 3 territories that have adopted the Common Core standards. And so what that means is that by 2014, we have to have the Common Core standards in math and English language arts implemented for our children because testing is going to begin in the 2014 school year. So when you think of that now, we're in 2012. We found out about this in 2010. So by adopting the Common Core, we know that we have to be teaching those Common Core standards for the 2013-2014 school year. So we had last year that we started working on math and really unpacking those Common Core standards. The teachers have been working so hard in this district. They have always worked hard, and now they are working even harder because we have a timeline that we need to meet to implement those Common Core standards. So last year, we really developed a 160-day scope and sequence that the teachers will begin implementing this year. They are in the process of unit development for those math Common Core standards K through 8. Having said that, they just started this year on the English language arts standards, and we'll be working throughout this year for that unit development in order for us to start teaching the Common Core standards for the 2013 school year. So the teachers have been tirelessly working and doing wonderful things with the standards. Having said that, we also need to develop common assessments. We have assessments that were aligned to the Illinois Learning Standards, but now that we're switching to the Common Core, we need to take everything that we're teaching and redevelop all of those assessments so that they are aligned to the Common Core so we can figure out what are our students learning and how do we know that they're learning and growing. So that's one of the second things that we are doing. So along with implementing the Common Core and the unit development, we're also developing those common assessments in English language arts and in math. Also what we're doing is looking at the alignment of data and instruction. And what that means is there is formative data that we take, and there's also summative data. So the teachers are now saying, okay, I have all of this data, but what am I doing and how am I utilizing that to drive my instruction? You heard Mr. Bauer talking before about Khan Academy and Raz Kids and having that instantaneous feedback so that I know what those kids know and I know what I need to do with my instruction in order to meet their learning needs. So that's something else that we're doing. Along with that is really investigating homework and grading practices. And what is happening with that? Ms. Conlon was talking more about, okay, we're having them go home and we're having them learn some type of instruction that I used to deliver as a teacher. And so now they're coming back into my classroom. So in a sense, when we flipped that environment, that really does have an impact on what is our view of homework. How are we grading? So along with the 21st Century Learning Initiative, these are things that we will be embarking on as far as discussions with the teacher. What is our policy on homework? How does that really impact what we're doing with 21st century learning? We really want our kids to critical think and problem solve, and are our practices aligning with that? And how is that grading really making a difference? Because with the Common Core, we need to teach to mastery. There are content at each grade level that students are expected to master, K through 8. So if we are teaching for mastery, how does that make a difference on that homework and on that grading? The other portion of our initiative is organizing and managing school-wide data. We have data. Mr. Duster was talking at the beginning. We have MAP data. We have Ames Web data. We have local common assessment data. We have data. But how do you organize that and how do you manage it so that me as a classroom teacher can figure out what can I do and how can I know that I can help this child with vocabulary or this child with measurement? How do I really determine that critical thinking and problem solving is occurring? So we really need to figure out, we have a data dashboard is what we're calling it, and all of the teachers are utilizing that and implementing and putting data in that dashboard so that we can then figure out that we are making the best decision for the children. And finally, one of the last portions of our Big Six initiative is communicating and managing the initiative. So one, not only that all of our teaching staff and that the children actually know what we're doing, but that you as a community and you as parents also know and understand what we're doing, what opportunities we're affording to the children, and then ways that you have an idea of what and how your tax dollars are being spent. The next portion, to try and explain how everything is fitting in, this came about as last year we really looked at our gifted program. And we were really trying to figure out, how do we service all of our students, and how is that happening, and what's going on? The model that we chose to look at is called Levels of Service, or the LOS model. So when you're looking at levels of service, the one thing that we really wanted to point out is that it really is research-based and supported. So if after this talk, if you want to do any more research about levels of service, here are some of the people that you can look up and find out a little bit more about that. So we just wanted to show you that it is. What is really important to know about levels of service is that it really offers a lot of opportunity, and it really works on developing strengths and talents of all students. And so it is a real flexible, inclusive, responsive, and proactive, as well as unifying model. So you're saying, well, what does that really mean? What that means is that there are 4 levels, and this is how we really started to look at district-wide, what do we offer all of our children who come to 161? When you start out at level 1, you are looking at what do we have for all children? What can all children access through our curriculum? And with that, we found out that we are starting our cluster grouping to ensure that each classroom has a high, a middle, and a low. So then that way we narrow those bands so that our teachers have the opportunity, when you're working with the differentiation of instruction, that they don't have the highest of a high and the lowest of a low, but instead it's clustered in a tighter band so that the teacher has an opportunity to be able to differentiate to a different level instead of having the highest of the high and the lowest of a low. So we're making sure that cluster grouping is allowing for more differentiation of instruction, as well as something that we're doing for all students K through 5, because the Common Core is really asking us to really look at critical thinking and problem solving. So we made sure that through this model, as we were looking for our new ACE program, that we determined we need to make sure that all of our children are exposed to critical thinking. So as far as level 1 of the levels of service, that's opportunities that all of our children have. And then as you go on the levels of service, what do we offer for many children? And so you start with all, and then you start to narrow the focus. Well, what are there for some? Because we know that you do need to differentiate. So what we found is that we now have math and reading enrichment K through 4. We had noticed last year when we were looking at the ACE program that we did not really have anything for our children in K through 2. So what we did was really implemented that instruction and that enrichment in that K through 2 environment. So it's now K through 4. Level 3. So we went from all to many and now to some. So as you were going and as you were continuing on that continuum, you really need to look at what are we doing for some of our students. So again, we have that math enrichment, K through 2, that we really beefed up for this school year to make sure that we were meeting the needs of those students. We also have the acceleration in grades 5 through 8. So we're continuing making sure that our math is accelerated, and with the Common Core, our goal is to get all students ready for Algebra 2. So that's more rigorous than we had in the past, and so we are in that transition to get all of our students, as many as we can, ready for Algebra 2 when they are going to HF. Additionally, we have our arts pull-out classes for 4th and 5th, and our arts encore class for 8th grade. So that's what we have for some. Then level 4, and this is where the change is. This is for those few students. So not everyone has the opportunity, but we made sure that we did increase how many students had an opportunity to either take and be enriched in a new portion in humanities and analytical applications. So this is something different through the ACE program, which we're doing to ensure that our program is looking at the student's strength as far as if they are more apt in the social studies reading or if they have that more analytical mind. So this is what we did for few, which really truly is that ACE pull-out portion of the program. When you talk about the Common Core, you've heard Common Core a lot tonight. Common Core really has been an impetus, and it's really different from the way that we used to teach. The teacher used to be the person in front of the class saying, this is the knowledge that I have, and this is the knowledge that you need to learn. Now what's happening with the Common Core is there's really an increased rigor, and it's really being more demanding. And instead of the teacher saying, this is the knowledge that I have, it's the teacher now saying, I know where we need to get to. Let me provide that roadmap and give you the skills that you need, and you will self-discover how we get there. And that is involving a lot more critical thinking and problem solving. You heard our teachers talk before, it's really starting to put that child in the driver's seat. And the child say, this is our problem. What's the solution? What all of our experience as adults has been as we've gone through math has been to get that right answer. And now what the focus is the process to the answer. How did you get there? What was your thinking? There is more than one way to answer that problem, and that's what we're looking for now. We really need the students to construct those arguments. We really need them to critique the reasoning of others. That's something that we have never really experienced as learners, but we are now asking those children, how do you critique that, and what is a way? So we have to not only teach the kids what is critique, but how to critique their peer. And then, again, really attend to that precision. So this is a math problem that is more aligned to the Common Core. A lot of people have said, well, with your new program and with ACES, my child had that curriculum last year. They're repeating it again. How am I going to know they're learning? Well, let me read you the problem. This is called SEAL Sleep. So I'm going to read it out loud since you might not be able to see it in the back. So SEAL Sleep, and again, this is taken from the PISA test, which is an international test, and this is really where we're moving to. A seal has to breathe even if it's asleep in the water. Martin observed a seal for 1 hour. At the start of his observation, the seal was at the surface and took a breath. Then it dove to the bottom of the sea and started to sleep. From the bottom, it slowly floated to the surface in 8 minutes and took a breath again. In 3 minutes, it was back at the bottom of the sea again. Martin noticed that this whole process was a very regular one. So that's the problem. And then the answer is, after 1 hour, the seal was at the bottom, on its way up, or breathing. So if some of you have that one analytical mind, you might already have the answer. But the portion of this is to really sit and have the children actually talk about what is the process to solve this problem. How do we get there? This is another example of a Math Common Core problem. It's called coin design. Again, this is taken from the PISA test, which is that international test. You are asked to design a new set of coins. All coins will be circular and colored silver, but of different diameters. This is what we know about the coin design criteria. Researchers have found out that an ideal coin system meets the following requirements. Diameters of coins should not be smaller than 15 millimeters and not be larger than 45 millimeters. Given a coin, the diameter of the next coin must be at least 30% larger. The minting machinery can only produce coins with diameters of a whole number of millimeters. Example, 17 millimeters is long, 17.3 is not. So based on this information, design a set of coins that satisfy the above requirements. You should start with a 15 millimeter coin, and your set should contain as many coins as possible. So again, it's really getting into that discussion and that problem solving and how am I doing that. We're used to taking a test and saying, of this, what is the equivalent fraction? And it has that answer. We're not really used to getting in what the teachers were describing. Is all of that discussion, that problem solving. So that's taking it to the different level and really looking for that rigor. So how are we responding to the change in practice? What are things that we're doing here in 161 to ensure that we are meeting all kids' needs and make sure that we are meeting them where they come in and making sure that they are growing? We are looking at that cluster grouping, making sure that that high, middle, and low cluster within each class. We're really focusing in on the differentiation of instruction. We have guided reading that has been going on for many years within the district, and we're now implementing guided math. We're working with each student with goal setting. What we know about this millennial generation is that they are those gamers and they want to know what it takes to get to the next level. So we're putting it in their hands and having them be a part of the process with goal setting. Also with our teachers, we're really working on curriculum mapping.